Hello, everyone. Welcome to Barca News. It is April 3rd, 2023, and lots of exciting news today, starting with the fact that Javier Tebas submitted false evidence in order to incriminate Barcelona in the Enriquez Negreira case. Also, the UEFA president, Ceferin, has launched a warning shot at Barcelona in regards to the Enriquez Negreira case as well. And finally, there's reports now stating that Barcelona are currently preparing an economic offer in order to sign Lionel Messi come the summer. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Welcome, everybody, to the second official live stream of Barca News. The first one was a success. We had a lot of fun. Interacting with all of you. As a reminder, these live streams will be done twice a week, Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you for all who are participating in today's live stream, and thank you to all of you who will be watching the live stream once it ends. Now, I'm going to do the same format as the last live stream. We're going to dig into a news segment. Then once that news segment is over, I'll head over to the comments section and answer some of your questions. I see some of you already here. Mohammed, Lincoln, what's up, guys? Thank you for joining. So let's begin with the bombshell report. La Vanguardia, which is a media outlet in Spain, dropped the bombshell report today revealing that Javier Tebas had submitted false evidence to the prosecutor's office in the Enriquez Negreira case. Now, we've already talked about Enriquez Negreira case a lot lately. That's the case where Barcelona are involved in a scandal because they hired the former referee, Enriquez Negreira, as a consultant for the club while he was still the vice president of the committee of referees. Now, given this conflict of interest, the prosecutor's office in Spain have filed corruption charges against the club, but they've also determined that there is no evidence that Barcelona attempted to buy influence or that they paid off any kind of referees. The investigation is mostly now involves kind of the falsification of documents and the misappropriation of funds. It has nothing to do with bribing referees, no matter how much the Madrid-based media wants to continue spreading this false story. Now, what happened with Javier Tebas? Well, there was a former board of directors member called Josep Contreras, and this guy already passed away. But after he passed away, while the police were going through his stuff in the Enriquez Negreira investigation, they found an envelope that said only openness in the most urgent of cases. And it was a sealed envelope that had been sealed for years. They opened that envelope. Inside of it, there was a piece of paper with a bunch of names of people, the names of banks, and bank account numbers. That's all this sheet had on it. Names of people, names of banks, and bank account numbers. Now, in this sheet, there were three names on it. The first name is Sandro. Second name is Josep Maria. And the third name is Roman. One of the banks was called Barc, B-A-R-C, Mas. That's all this sheet of paper did. When Javier Tebas saw this paper, immediately said, well, this has to be proof that Barcelona were bribing referees. The name Sandro has to be Sandro Rosé, as the former president of Barcelona. The name Josep Maria has to be Josep Maria Bartomeu, the former Barcelona president. The name Roman has to be about Roman Ponti, which is also a former board of directors. And finally, Barc Mas has to mean that these accounts belonged to Barcelona. Now, keep in mind, these are very common names in Spain. Sandro, Josep Maria are very common names, but nonetheless, that didn't stop Javier Tebas of assuming that these names were the former presidents of Barcelona. So he wrote a letter, forwarded to the prosecutor's office, to UEFA, to FIFA, saying, I have conclusive evidence that Barcelona were bribing referees. Here's this piece of paper. It has the names of the former president, Sandro Rosé, Josep Maria Bartomeu, and these bank accounts have to belong to Barcelona. Also, Josep Maria Bartomeu, what he did, he pretty much implored the prosecutor's office to act as fast as possible because the statute of limitation was coming up. So he really wanted them to act fast before it was too late. Now, keep in mind, Javier Tebas is the president of La Liga. And as the president of La Liga, he's supposed to be looking out for all the clubs in the league not trying to attack one of them, definitely not instigating that the prosecutor's office, UEFA and FIFA, go after this club. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean anything to Javier Tebas. So what happened is the police began to investigate this piece of paper and try to investigate who the names were on this piece of paper. They interviewed the family of Josep Contreras, who had already passed away. And they found out that Sandro did not refer to Sandro Rosell, the former Barcelona president. Sandro was actually the accountant of the deceased. Now, Josep Maria did not refer to Josep Maria Bartomeu, the former president of Barcelona. That was a banker at one of the banks where these accounts were at. Barca Mas did not refer to the Barcelona accounts. It referred to Barcelona Mas, which is a bank that used to exist in Spain, and now it closed back in the 90s. And all these bank account numbers on this sheet of paper did not belong to Barcelona, belonged to the deceased, Josep Contreras. So what this sheet of paper was Josep Contreras, before he died, he wrote a sheet of paper with all his bank account numbers and what accounts, which banks they existed at, and who were the bankers who were in charge of these accounts, and put it in this envelope, kind of like in preparation of his death, let's say. That way when he died, his family can open this envelope, know where all his money was at, which accounts, which banks, who were the bankers who were in charge of these accounts, so they can get his money. It looks like this sheet of paper was prepared many, many years ago because all the banks that were on the sheet of paper have already closed. They're out of business back in the 90s. And he must have forgot to update it. But of course, that didn't stop Javier Tebas from assuming that all these names were board of directors of Barcelona, and in these bank accounts were bank accounts belonging to Barcelona, which is absolutely stupid. It's like, and again, these names are very common names in Spain. It's like me being robbed by a person named Perez and going to the police and say, well, my robber, his last name is Perez. I know that for sure. It has to be Florentino Perez. So you need to go to Madrid and arrest Florentino Perez, because I'm pretty sure he was my robber, since my robber's last name was Perez. So there you go. There you have it, folks. The president of La Liga making assumptions with no evidence, imploring the prosecutor's office, UEFA and FIFA, to go after Barcelona, which is absolutely disgusting. Now, Barcelona released a statement today asking that Javier Tebas resign from his post for presenting this false evidence. And the statement reads this way. Given the gravity of the information that has appeared today, Monday, in La Vanguardia, in which La Liga president Javier Tebas is linked to the presentation of false evidence to the public prosecutor to incriminate our club, FC Barcelona, wishes to express its deepest indignation, anger, and dismay. For that reason, we urgently require that La Liga president to appear in public to explain himself, beyond that tweet sent in the early hours by Mr. Tebas, lacking substance and with a threatening tone. FC Barcelona, as President Joan Laporta repeated in recent weeks, feels itself to be the victim of a media campaign for events that never took place. Barca has never paid referees. This harassment involves a group of media outlets and opinion writers with varying degrees of intent, and with La Liga fanning the flames behind the scenes against our club, with contributions from its president who has only gone in one direction, trying to condemn us in public's eyes before the facts have been judged. It is not the first time that the president of La Liga has used the media weapons at his disposal to damage FC Barcelona. However, in contrast to his usual nonsense, we could never have imagined that he could try to incriminate our club with false evidence. The article published today by La Vanguardia was of such gravity that it should put all the clubs in La Liga on alert, given that it talks of practices which are in no way consistent with the job of the president of La Liga. If only for this fact that have given himself powers that do not belong to him, although also for reasons of dignity and respect for the presidency of La Liga, Mr. Tebas should resign from his post. Nevertheless, aware of his obsession with persecuting FC Barcelona and showing his constant averse and manifest dislike of our club, we understand that the current La Liga president will persist in his efforts to keep damaging our club. Strong statement by FC Barcelona. I'm glad they made it. I'm glad they're asking for the resignation of Javier Tebas. This is absolutely unacceptable what Tebas did. And more importantly, it's a crime. You cannot present false evidence. You cannot make false accusations. It's a crime, and I hope that Javier Tebas gets deposed from his post, and I hope that he gets prosecuted because, again, this is a crime. I can't say because I don't like my neighbor that I'm going to accuse them of stealing my money. That is a crime. That's not something you could do. Now, Tebas did respond to Barcelona's request that he resign through Twitter, and I get to the most important part because most of it was BS. It said the information decimated in this article includes statements and erroneous information lacking supporting evidence and which, distorted as they are, seriously damage my honor and reputation. Mr. Tebas, you have no honor, you have no reputation, you're a crook, you're a criminal, and you're a bully who likes to use the Liga's president to bully his way around. This is absolutely shameful what's going on in La Liga. And I don't think they realized this, but when they leaked the Enriquez Negreira case, I don't think they realized that they had opened Pandora's box. And I think we're in for a ride because a lot of things are going to come out. There's been a lot of corruption in La Liga for many years, whether it's Javier Tebas, Florentino Perez, or who may be. And I don't think they realized that when they open this Pandora's box that all these things are going to come to light. And I'm glad they are because enough is enough. Javier Tebas has abused his presidency for way too long, and I really hope that his presidency comes to an end. Now I'm going to head to the comment section, answer a few questions, and then we'll move on to the next news segment that also has to do with the Enriquez Negreira case, because this case seems to have no end in sight. Wow, greetings from Italy, Milan. Hey, Barry. Thank you for joining us. That's awesome. I didn't know I had people watching me from Milan. That's amazing. Greetings from Africa and Dublin. Wow, that is pretty cool. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining Peak Clownery by Tebas. Yes, and it's no longer just clownery. It's also criminal misconduct, and he needs to be prosecuted and charged, like Lincoln said. I agree with you. Anyways, I think I don't see any other questions. So let's move on. Hello from London. Whoa, that's awesome. London as well. That's pretty cool. Thank you, guys. Thank you for joining. Thank you for your constant support for this channel. You know, it's a small channel. When I started this channel, I didn't think it would get to this point. I thought it would be just me and 5 other people discussing Barcelona, and to see it just growing day by day is just mind-blowing. And it's all thanks to awesome people like you guys who watch the videos, who subscribe, who always comment and share your thoughts and opinions. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. I never imagined we'd get to where we are, but I think it's important that we have these alternative media outlets, because one of the reasons why I started this channel was I was really tired of the mainstream media constantly just drumming the same Madrid message, you know, and I wanted to be kind of like an alternative voice that can support Barcelona and get behind Barcelona and not constantly be, you know, going after the club the way the mainstream media has been doing for years. But anyways, let's get back to the news. The next segment is about the UEFA president, Alexander Ceferin. As you might know, UEFA have decided to open an investigation into Barcelona about the Enriquez Negreira case. They've sent inspectors to Spain. They've actually been at the Barcelona offices where they've examined documents. Barcelona have told them they have nothing to hide. They can go to the Barcelona offices whenever they want. They can request whatever documents they want. There's nothing to hide by the club. Again, there's no evidence that they ever try to pay off referees or try to buy any kind of influence. But nonetheless, the UEFA president, Alexander Ceferin, did an interview today where he talked about this case, and he said, the situation is extremely serious. It is so serious that, in my opinion, it is one of the most serious situations in football that I have ever seen. Now, that's all he wanted to say about the situation. He said, you know, this whole thing is under investigation, so he can't say anything more. But he's pretty much setting the tone of UEFA. UEFA seems to think that this is a very serious case and that Barcelona should face some kind of repercussions. So it looks like from the statements of Ceferin that most likely Barcelona could be facing that 1-year ban from the Champions League and from the Europa League. Now, as reported in a previous video, if this happens, if UEFA decide to ban Barcelona without any court or any prosecutor's office finding any kind of evidence that Barcelona actually bribed referees, which there aren't any, then Barcelona could sue UEFA. And under UEFA's own rules, Barcelona could sue them for up to 100 million euros for lost income. And if that does happen, if UEFA does ban Barcelona from European competitions, I really hope the club go after them. Because again, there's no evidence that Barcelona ever bribed any referees, bought any kind of influence. And in fact, that's not what's being investigated by the prosecutor's office right now. What's being investigated is the falsification of documents and misappropriation of funds. Because what really happened with the Enriquez Negreira case is that Enriquez Negreira, along with several members of the board of directors, including Josep Contreras, who already passed away, what they were doing, they were stealing money from the club. And that's the real scandal. That's the real story. But of course, you're not going to hear that in the mainstream media. All you're going to hear about is Barcelona bribing referees and winning trophies thanks to this bribery. Now, let's get back to the comment section, and then we'll move on to the other bombshell concerning Messi. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Wow, hello from Belize, Norway, Jamaica, St. Lucia. Wow. Hello, guys. Thank you for joining. Wow. This is amazing. All this support that we're getting in the chat from Nigeria. Hello, everybody. Praying UEFA kicks out Barcelona so we can cash that check. I mean, if it would be guaranteed that we could get that money, yeah, I wouldn't mind sitting out the Champions League for one season, getting 100 million euros. I mean, we can sign a lot of players with that money, but again, that wouldn't be guaranteed. It all depends on the ruling of the court, and then of course these cases take years, so Barcelona could go years without seeing that money, and in the short term, they would be losing on the income from European competitions, which is of course a lot. Okay. All right. I love this Barca channel. Thank you, Milton. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. Let's get back to the next bombshell story, and that's that it's been revealed that Barcelona are currently preparing or considering preparing an offer for Lionel Messi so they can sign him in the summer. We've been talking about Messi for months. Rafa Yuste, the vice president of Barcelona, confirmed that the club are indeed in contact with Messi's entourage. There are several reporters in Argentina saying that if Messi receives an offer from Barcelona, that he would go back because he wants to go back to Barcelona. But of course, the biggest issue is the money. Barcelona are in a very bad economic condition, and where they're not sure whether they can afford to bring Messi back. Now, some of you have mentioned before that if Messi comes back, he would bring a lot of revenue. And that is correct. If Messi does sign for Barcelona, he would generate a lot of revenue through the sale of his jerseys, merchandise. He would also bring sponsors with him. So no doubt that Barcelona would gain a lot of money from the arrival of Messi. But that's, of course, putting the horse or the cart before the horse. Because first, you have to sign Messi before you can make that money. And the big problem is whether Barcelona can sign Messi to begin with, because again, there's no money. Now, Messi has very lucrative offers from different clubs around the world. He also has a very lucrative offer from PSG to renew his contract. The latest they're saying is that PSG are willing to offer him the same salary that he's currently making, which is 40 million euros. And of course, that's money that Barcelona cannot afford. So they're reporting now that Barcelona are preparing an economic package that they can offer to Messi. And it looks like Barcelona will be willing to offer Messi around 5 to 6 million euros in salary. But they would add variables where Messi would get a percentage of the money that he would bring from sponsors and from the extra revenue that the club would get. I think in this case that could work because, again, Barcelona don't have money to pay Messi more than the 5-6 million euros in order to sign him. But if they sign him and he starts bringing all this money, then they can pay him with a percentage of that money. That way, Messi gets the salary that he wants, and Barcelona are still able to sign him, and they're still able to generate that income that they would get from signing the best player in the history of football. Now, there's also talks about Barcelona currently negotiating with a big sponsor of the club. They haven't said who, to see if that sponsor would be willing to put some money on the table to help bring Messi back. But again, all of this are just situations that Barcelona are currently considering. This doesn't mean it's going to happen. They're considering it. They're studying it. It's not for sure. The official stance of the club is still that there is no offer for Messi because they can't afford to bring him back. but reports are saying that Barcelona are considering these statements. So we're going to have to see whether the club move forward with this deal or not. Let's head back to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. If you have any questions, I love Messi, but Barcelona should focus on the new generation. I agree with you. Um, I think we already have Lewandowski, who's 34 years old. We're talking about signing Gundogan, who's 32 years old. There was even talk about signing Aubameyang, who's also 34 years old, and now talking about bringing Messi, who's 36, renewing Busquets, who's 34. Sergio was renewed, and he's 32. I think we shouldn't fall back into our old habits of renewing these older players. We should focus on the young ones. We have so many young talent on the team, whether it be Araujo, Gavi, Pedri. There's so many players coming up from the lower divisions, whether it be Pablo Torre, Alex Garrido, who had his debut the other day. A lot of players who could play in the first team, who are still young, who can give this team, many more years of playing time. I think that's what we should be focusing on, not older players. But I do understand the club's desire of bringing Messi back so he can get kind of his last dance like Michael Jordan, and plus the income that the club could generate from Lionel Messi coming back. In my opinion, if Messi comes back, I think he should accept a secondary role. We cannot sacrifice the playing time of younger players to have a 36-year-old play, but that's simply my opinion. Uh, if I meet Tebas 1 versus 1, I'm turning to Prime Tyson. I'll be right behind you. I would help you. Quick question outside of football: what happened to your missing? So Sally asked what happened to my missing tooth. I practice MMA. I fight, and I got punched really hard. It broke my tooth. This happened last summer. I already have an implant. I'm just waiting on the crown, I've already been to the dentist twice, and they keep messing up the crown. So hopefully I'll be getting my crown pretty soon. But pretty much what happened, I got punched really hard. It broke my tooth. But that's, it just comes with the sport. By the way, if you guys are ever curious about doing any martial arts, I highly recommend it. Great exercise and keeps you in shape. And then it doesn't hurt to know how to defend yourself. But anyways, let's not get off topic. Let's get back to the news. The next news is Vitor Roque. Vitor Roque. As I mentioned, his father is currently doing a European tour. He went to Chelsea, Arsenal, and PSG to meet with the owners of the club to see the facilities and installations. And then on his tour, it was scheduled that he would come to Barcelona to visit the Spotify Camp Nou, the sporting facilities, and to meet with the board of directors. And today, Gerard Romero, one of his reporters, Gerard Romero, we mentioned him a lot on the channel. He is a big reporter in Barcelona, very reliable source of information regarding the club. One of his reporters caught the father of Vitor Roque leaving the Barcelona offices. So it looks like Vitor Roque's father is in Barcelona to visit the sporting facilities, to meet with the board of directors. The club haven't confirmed this, but nonetheless, there's plenty of pictures of Vitor Roque's father leaving the offices of Barcelona. So it looks like he's concluding his European tour with Barcelona. Let's see what happens after this European tour, whether Vitor Roque and his family still insist on joining Barcelona, or whether they're going to start considering other clubs. So let's get back comment section, and then we'll finish the stream with two bits of news. Let's see. I'd rather take Roberto Busquets and Alba away and bring Messi. We have players to replace those roles of this player, but nobody can replace Messi. I agree that Messi is irreplaceable, but I don't think people realize how irreplaceable Busquets is. Busquets is the best pivot in the history of Barcelona. He is one of the best pivots in the history of football, period. And the Barcelona style of play heavily relies on a good pivot who can hold the midfield, who can distribute the ball, who has good vision. And for the longest time, we had the best pivot in the history. And I don't think people realize how much we're going to miss Busquets once he's outside the club, because without the pivot, the Barcelona system cannot work. And so far, we haven't found anyone that even comes close to what Busquets can do. So I don't agree that Busquets is replaceable. I think he's just as irreplaceable as Messi. As far as Jordi Alba, I think he's gonna be out of the club. Sergio Roberto, he's renewed for one more year. I don't mind him having on the team. He's barely earning any money, and he still contributed to the team. But I wouldn't necessarily say that Busquets is easily replaceable. Anyways, let's end with the last two bits of news. The first one is that Barcelona are now happy with Ansu Fati. As you remember, we discussed this on the last stream. His father made some pretty heavy statements saying that he would take Ansu Fati if it was up to him from the club. Those were the father's statements, not Ansu Fati's himself. And Ansu Fati apologized to the club, apologized to the locker room. He said this is not how he feels. He wants to stay in Barcelona, and the club are very happy that he did that. And also, it seems that Barcelona have developed a special fitness plan for him because now the doctors in the club are thinking that Ansu Fati has not fully recovered from his injury, even though Ansu Fati insists that he has. And the club think that he's still suffering a little bit of weakness in his muscles. So they have developed a special fitness plan to try to bring Ansu Fati back to his physical form. And Ansu Fati has committed that he will follow that plan, and he's going to be training extra hard, doing more training sessions than the rest of the team to see if he can come back to his physical state. I think it was a big mistake that Ansu Fati refused to undergo surgery and instead opted out for a conservative treatment. I think he should have underwent the surgery. But again, I understand why. He had 3 failed surgeries before that. But it looks like Barcelona think that he has not fully recovered. So they've developed a physical plan for him that he has said that he will follow. So we'll see how that happens. Hopefully that can help him bring him back to the old Ansu Fati before his injuries, because that would be a huge win for the club. The last bit of news is that the Barcelona family continue on their impressive performance. They won yesterday 0-2 against Alama, and now they have won 24 out of 24 matches in La Liga. They're having a perfect season, and they're still at the top of the league. Absolutely impressive what these ladies are doing. So let's go back. We'll do 1 or 2 more comments, and then we will end the stream. Let's see. Milton says, since I know this channel months ago, I look forward to your videos and content every day. Thank you, Milton. I hope he chooses Barca. He will be a great addition. I'm guessing you're talking about Vitor Roque linking. I hope so too. We'll see what happens. Busquets, Alba out, Messi, Amrabat, Gundogan, and Vitor in. Busquets is not going to be out unless he decides to leave. The club really want to keep him. Alba, I think, will be out. Amrabat, I don't think he's coming, especially since Xabi wants to try out Eric Garcia in a pivot position. If Eric works out, there's no reason to bring Amrabat. And Gundogan, he's coming for sure. Vitor Roque, we'll see what happens with Atletico Paranaense. But I really think that the Messi and Busquets case is tied together. Whatever Busquets decides to do, I think is going to be linked to Messi. If Busquets renews, most likely because Messi's coming to the club. If Busquets leaves, then most likely Messi's not coming to the club. That's not confirmed or anything. That's just my hunch, my personal opinion. I think those two are planning their future together. Will Alvarez come to Barca? Alvarez, are you talking about Julian Alvarez? No, he extended his contract with Manchester City. There's no way Barcelona cannot afford his salary. They cannot afford his transfer fee. So no, I don't think Julian Alvarez is coming. And Barcelona's main goal right now is Vitor Roque, not Julian Alvarez. I think Julian Alvarez made a mistake, by the way, extending his contract with Manchester City. I think he extended it till 2028. If I'm not mistaken. Big mistake. He just won the World Cup. He's young. He could be starting for any team in the world. And yet he renews with Manchester City, where he's playing with Haaland. He's never going to replace Haaland as the starting center forward, unless Haaland gets injured or something horrible happens. So I think it's a big mistake that he just tied himself for 5 more years. That means 5 more years on the bench. But that's just my opinion. And that is it. Thank you all for joining in. I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Once again, another stream will be on Wednesday, 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all again. As always, Peace, Barça.